Right, hi guys, how you doing? My name's Electric Johnny Hat. Yeah, I suppose just another science talk, I guess. Uh, see the stress in me, innit? Not stress to do with anybody else, just my own personal stress with research, you know. Trying to work fake things out with consciousness. Yeah, it's so frustrating, it really does. But anyway, my name's Electric Johnny Hat. Let's start on a positive thing here. And it will stay positive. It's just frustration of researching on science. You know, it's fucking difficult. It's really difficult. So anyway, it's Wednesday today. It's the 23rd of April. Wednesday, 23rd of April, and it's just coming up to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah. Payday for me Friday, which is good. So can restock on weed. Yeah, maybe that's why I'm a bit stressed. I don't know. If I haven't smoked anything today, I've run out till Friday, as people just do. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, so I've posted up a video this morning, which is a video with Stuart Hameroff, which is just one of these scientists that I've been looking into. He's the one who actually come up with the microtubules, which is really, really cool. So I'll dive straight into that even more to get the full explanation of the microtubules from Stuart Hameroff. I mean, I love Stuart Hameroff, I really do. I mean, I love a lot of these guys. I mean, I've been going through over the last couple of months, probably a bit longer than that. You know, Stuart Hameroff, Roger Penrose, Joshua Back, David Livingstone, Sabine Hossenfelder, Donald Hoffman, Thomas Campbell, Federico Fagin, love Federico, Brian Greene, and yeah, even Brian Greene, he's more of a mainstream guy, and Bernardo Kastrup. I mean, you know, all of these guys I've been researching. You know, you can't come on and talk about science deeply to do with consciousness unless you research these guys properly. That's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 10 people I've been researching. I haven't finished researching. This is the frustration, you know, of trying to work it out, things out. So I have to sit down and just research these guys. I have to sit down. I mean, I've always said my superpower is listening. That's my superpower. You know, everyone's got a kind of superpower, right? And mine's listening. I've always said that. I see and I hear everything, you know, but so I have to, I'm being silly, but I you know, I have to sit down and I have to just shut my mouth and listen. That's what I have to do with these kind of guys, because it's, you know, it's they're all difficult to kind of understand, you know, if you're coming from someone that's coming from, you know, standard physics and you're moving into the new physics of consciousness, because you're coming from one point to another. You know what I mean? One dimension to another. One crazy way of thinking, which the average person doesn't do, you know, to an even higher state of understanding and thinking about this stuff. You know, it's like going from the flat Earth to the concave Earth, and then basically starting all again after doing research of the flat Earth for 4 years, and then jumping straight into something else, and then trying to work that out, and then trying to understand it, and it takes time. You know, so I have to sit down and listen to all these guys, you know, and it's frustrating, it really is, because it's so difficult trying to learn from the basic physics to now jumping into, which was my choice, to jump into the new physics of consciousness. So I kind of started again, do you know what I mean? Starting from scratch. I mean, look, I mean, you still have to have the basis of knowledge of the basic physics, but jumping in, you know, anyway, look, you know, I'm rambling, but you know, you have to sit down and you have to listen to these guys. You really do. And it's like, when I was, you know, when I went through Dan Winter, I thought I would never ever get through Dan Winter's work. It took me, you know, every video I watched of Dan Winter, you know, 6, 7 times on each video, because I just weren't getting it. So I had to keep watching it, repeating it and repeating it and repeating it until it's drilled in to the subconscious mind. You know, and it's difficult, it's frustrating, but you know, this is the road I've decided to take. You know, I've always been into science. Well, the last 10 years, you know, got serious into science, and so yeah, I have to listen to these 10 people. You know, but the thing is, right, Stuart Hamworth, Roger Penrose, Joshua Back, David Livingstone, Sabrine Hossenfelder, Donald Hoffman, Thomas Campbell, Federico Fagin, again I love Federico, Brian Greene and Bernard Kastrop. You know, I don't agree with everything of these people. So what I do, I'm listening to everything that they all say, doing research on all these guys, because I believe on what all of them are saying, but I need different parts, so I don't agree with everything they're all saying. So what I'm trying to do, which is probably the frustration part of it, is trying to obviously learn from all these guys, because I don't agree with everything that each one of these people are saying. I like little bits of what they're saying, you know, because they're kind of looking at the higher state, the physics of consciousness in different ways. You know what I mean? It's the whole point of debating, you know, and looking into different people, and people have, you know, different explanations of different things to do with the physics of consciousness. So I'm trying to take little bits of each one of them of what I agree with, and take it, put it into my subconscious mind, and put it into a basis of what I really think's going on myself, you know. And some people may think, you know, well, that's a bit cheeky of you to do something like that. You know, you're not smarter or more intelligent than these guys, Johnny, are you? Well, no, of course not. But I don't agree with everything they're saying, you know, only some parts of what they're saying. So bits and bobs of what they're all saying. So if I can take little bits and bobs of each one of these 10 people, and then put into a basis of something that, you know, and push forward of something that I personally believe in. You know, no one says that you have to believe everything that these people are saying. No, that's why there's 10 of them. If we had to believe everything that of all these people, if I had to believe everything of what these people are saying, because they all look at things differently with physics of consciousness, then I may as well just stick to one person and just, you know, repeat just what he says and nobody else. So taking one person out of the 10 and then pushing aside the other 9. Do you understand? It doesn't work like that. In order to get a basis of what you believe is going on yourself, then you have to research all these guys, take a little bit of each one of them and put it into a basis and make it into a process of something that you can put forward yourself. Because personally, not even all 10 of these people have got everything 100% correct. How would we know if they was? Because if that was the case, it would only follow one of them. Or each 10 of them would all follow just one person. Even them 10 people themselves would only follow one of those people, because they would all agree on the same science of the physics of consciousness. But yeah, so this is the frustrating part of it. And like I said, you know, I always said to myself, and that's what I say to myself now, I managed to get through the main guys. And then I pushed myself onto Downwinter, which was extremely difficult. It really was. But I say to myself now, well, you've got through Downwinter's work, research, you got through that. So if you can get through that journey, then you can get through these guys too, you know. And that's what I'm trying to do. So that's the frustrating part of it. It's so difficult, it really is. But, you know, look, nobody said that science was going to be easy. It's not. You know what I mean? It's so hard to, this is why, you know, a lot of scientists in the past, you know, they crash and burn. You know, they overload too much information. The brain can't take it. The brain won't accept it. We can't, you know, it's a build up from, you know, from like, for me, it's a build up from 10 years ago, you know, because you can't just jump from 0 to 100, you know, bang, just like that. It doesn't work like that. Because if people ask you questions, then you have to have the answers for them. Or if you're going to sit down and explain to an audience, then you need to know. You have to have a bit of noddle yourself. You need to know how to explain this stuff, and that takes time. You know, you can't just go from 0 to 100. It doesn't work like that. It takes research, and this is the most frustrating part of it. It really is. So I've got to keep going. And, you know, sometimes I'll sit there with my head in my hands and I'm like, why is it so fucking difficult? Excuse the swearing. Why is it so difficult? It is difficult. No one said it's going to be easy. It's so difficult. But I've classed myself as a kind of scientist, because, you know, everybody's their own scientist these days, which just means, you know, that everybody needs to be learning, or the people that want to learn this stuff, then they would go out and keep learning, you know. But, you know, you can see I'm genuine even when I talk about these guys, you know. But, yeah, it's so difficult. So anyway, I'll put a video out on Stuart Hammeroff today, because he's gave me a full explanation of the microtubules and how they're working. And, you know, for me, it was like one of the last guys to come in, you know, because he always looked up, like a lot of people do, and I do too, to Roger Penrose. But again, I don't believe everything that Roger Penrose says, because Roger Penrose is stuck on, you know, even though he's into the new physics of consciousness, he's a main old school guy, because he's like 90 now, isn't he? So he's an old school guy, he's on old school physics. Or all he's done is researched old school physics, and he's jumped himself into the physics of consciousness. So Stuart Hammeroff mentioned to Roger Penrose about the microtubules, because they needed to have a basis of stuff that was going on in the brain itself, and how consciousness is being transferred and stuff, you know. And Stuart Hammeroff's kind of, yeah, he had a little chat with Roger Penrose, and he probably didn't think he was going to get anywhere with Roger Penrose. I didn't think that Roger Penrose was going to believe anything that Stuart Hammeroff was saying. But Roger Penrose personally was looking for somebody like Stuart Hammeroff to come out with the basis and the physics of microtubules anyway. And it turns out that Roger Penrose, after his first meeting with Stuart Hammeroff, he went off and done a talk in Oxford. And all Roger Penrose did was talk about Stuart Hammeroff's work of microtubules, which blew Stuart Hammeroff's mind. And he was just so, you know, so grateful, I guess, you know, that Penrose actually even listened to him. Do you know what I mean? So I guess there's always new guys coming in all the time, you know. But so you with this kind of research, you just have to keep with it. You have to got to keep going on and on with it. You know, it's frustrating, it's difficult. I can't say there's anybody out there that's learning about this kind of physics or physics of consciousness, and they can put their hand up and say, well, this is really easy. Because it fucking ain't. It's not. Again, sorry for swearing. You know, it's not. It really isn't. You know, when I left the flat earth after 4 years of research, even though it didn't need 4 years of research, it only needed 2. But, you know, I knew I had to drop that out and move into something else. So I moved into the concave earth. But again, that's what I was doing there. You know, I looked into the spinning ball, then into the flat earth, and then into the concave earth, and then moved over now into the new physics of consciousness. And I know that there might be people out there thinking, oh, why do you keep going from him to him to him to him, or to this research, or different models or different ways of thinking, you know, because the new physics of consciousness works on, you know, different fields, like I've explained many times now, you know. So you're going from something physical into something that ain't really physical at all. It turns out on this research I'm doing at the moment that everything works on a projection, which again is really, really mind-blowing and difficult. So, you know, I will keep researching this stuff, you know. I was going to come on this morning and do another talk, so I've been doing research on different philosophers to do with consciousness as well. Let's read this one out, one page of quantum entanglement before I go. So basically I've done 1 to 6, I think, here, of explaining on different levels of consciousness. Different levels of consciousness. So quantum entanglement, all you have to do is focus on a person or object long enough, and now you're entangled in that thing or in that person. And then the information changes in that thing or that person, because it's now become a reflection of a you and your brain. So your brain is a holographic generator that takes all that information from all that entanglement and makes and forms all that neurological shapes and structures, and matches all this information, all these information points You are literally building a holographic library of memory and turning them into a projection of perception. Quantum entanglement. So that's a great way of looking into one side of consciousness, you know, which and the fields, you know, because quantum entanglement is basically talking about fields. The fields are all around you, and how you're concentrating on something like an object or a person, or researching on this object or person, and then taking that information into your DNA projection, like the field I was saying, the DNA projecting of the aura, and then taking that in and then forming it into a projection for yourself. Do you know what I mean? Do you understand? So let me read it again. Quantum entanglement. All you have to do is focus on a person or object long enough, and now you're entangled in that thing or in that person, and then the information changes into that thing because it's now into a reflection of you and your brain. So your brain is a holographic generator that takes all this information from all that entanglement and makes and forms all that neurological shapes and structures and matches that information points. You are literally building a holographic library of memory and turning them into a projection of perception. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to read down more because I've got quite a bit here. I was going to do this on another talk anyway. Got stuff on, you know, the 80 and 20% rule again of, or say the 5%. People look at it at different levels, you know, like 5% of the conscious and the 95% of the subconscious. Some people say the 15 and, you know, and the 85, or the 20 and the 80, you know. Am I getting my math right here? What else was I put down here? We're attracted to people based on their psychological wounds. So that's like a mirror. Basically saying that, you know, some people are attracted to people that are similar to you. You know, so like to attract on the basis of psychological wounds. So my psychological wounds could be attracted to some, or my psychological wounds could be attracted to the next person, which you basically have in common of their psychological wounds as well. And if that doesn't work, then with the two people that are being entangled in that entanglement, then one person can walk away if they realise that the other one isn't on the same basis or on the same level as that, so they can walk away from it, break away from the quantum entanglement. You know what I mean? I know it sounds confusing for people who don't understand. I understand that. So I mean, yeah, I'm just gonna keep researching this stuff as, you know, as much, and you know, how difficult it really is. It's so difficult, but I have to keep grinding away at it, you know, and try and put it into a, like I always said, I like to put things into when I talk about this stuff, I don't want to throw out word salad, so I break it down into information so I can explain it to like a 12-year-old kid or a 14-year-old kid. So what I'm saying is, you know, I could read things out in a very high level that people just wouldn't understand, which would just me talking word salad, and I don't believe in doing that. I believe in breaking stuff down so you can explain it to a child. So if you can make a child of 12 years old understand this kind of information, then everybody would understand this information, right? And that's what I've always tried to do. I'm not going to come on and throw out word salad and just confuse the next man, or confuse the people that are actually watching. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just before I go, I'm not going to mention the guy's name, but I watched the podcast yesterday again. Quite a bit of it, because I said I'd stay away from this guy. I'm not really interested in going back to him full term, even though he's changed his tune on a lot of things. So I thought I'd watch most of it yesterday, and he just became angry again, do you know what I mean? So whatever's going on, fella, I mean, look, I don't know. Is it because you found out that I'm kind of watching you part-time again? Is this pissing you off? Is this affecting your podcast with me watching? I mean, let me know in coding, just let me know. I mean, like, if you want, I'll just stop watching this. If it's going to affect you in your work or you in your public speaking, then I'll stop watching if it makes you uncomfortable. You know, you said some nasty things about me too, fella, and I let it go over my shoulder, and I thought you was man enough to do the same. You know, so if you can't do that, then let me know and I'll walk away from your channel again. I don't mind. But please don't put yourself in a position where you're kind of angry or nervous. I think it's nervous. I think you're nervous because you've got, I mean, I don't see you as my enemy. Maybe you see me as your enemy. I don't know. I really hope not. Because look, I can sit here and I could have like 20 haters of mine watching me and it won't affect me at all because I'm super confident. I let it go over my left shoulder, so I'm really super confident, do you know what I mean? I don't care who's watching. I could have them 10 people sitting around me in this room right now and I could still talk to the camera like I do normally. These people would not affect me in any way. You know, I'm built of something stronger than they are. Do you know what I mean? So maybe you can take that some kind of as advice. So do yourself a favour. Either drop me in code and let me know and I'll stop watching if it makes you feel uncomfortable. Otherwise, count to 10, take a deep breath and learn to override it. Because you're a good speaker, you're a good public speaker and you're good at what you do, but I don't want you to be affected in any way by me watching you if that makes you feel uncomfortable. And I've tried to say that as diplomatically as I could without mentioning your name, but you know what I'm talking about because I know you watch. So yeah, just take a deep breath, man. Otherwise, let me know in coding, and if it really makes you feel that uncomfortable, I'll stop watching. And it shouldn't, because you've always said yourself that you're super confident too, and I do believe you are. But you know, like I said, I could sit here with 10 of my haters all personally sitting around me right now, watching me, and it still would not affect me the way I talk to the camera, because these people don't bother me. It's the best way I could explain it. My name's Electric Johnny Hat. Thanks for listening. Yeah, this stuff is so super stressful. It really is. But like, you know, no one ever said this was going to be easy. You know, but I think I continuously go over many hurdles through being a researcher from like 10 years ago and walking away from this and walking away from that. I'm talking about different subjects of science and not being, I'm being man enough to walk away from these subjects and moving on to the next subject if I personally believe that subject isn't working. So I'm always going to be one that's going to, if I don't believe in it, I will walk away from it, because I'm not here to make money. Do you know what I mean? I've got no other objective on this apart from, you know, doing this for fun. And I want people to learn, and, you know, I want people to learn from me, because I am the kind of guy that will explain this to a 12-year-old child, so you can all understand this, yeah? I'm not talking through the camera in a way that, you know, like the other person watching is a scientist themselves. No, I'm doing it so you can all understand this on an easy basis. So my name's Electric Johnny Hat. Speak to you all soon. Have a great day, and I'll probably be back in the next couple of days and have a chat, because I'm still putting like 1 to 10 of things like explaining quantum entanglement properly to the average bod, so you can all understand. Thank you very much.